welcome to Drinks Coach, episode 80. Another fortuitous one, this. And also, under the circumstances, at a time when my industry is collapsing around me, I'd like to try and do favours for people who deserve it. And this particular show is about a company called Advinture, that's A-D, capital V-I-N, as in adventure, set up by my dear friend and bike fanatic, Matt Wilkin, Master Sommelier. Yes, Matt Wilkin, MS, you've probably seen the movies, has passed that unbelievably crazy exam, which is the Master Court of Sommelier's exam. And he set up this company with his dear friend and other wine guru, Christian Honorez. They have a trade business. Virtually everything they bought was very special. Their attention to detail was extraordinary. Some of the finest wines known to humanity, just to plagiarise my favourite film, Wilkin and I, there for a second. But that was all for restaurants. It was all so that the finest dining tables in the world have access to the right things. They're not open, which means that Christian and Matt need you to buy their wines. When I found out from my good friend and my lovely friend Victoria Moore, who writes for the wine column for the Daily Telegraph, that she'd had samples from Matt. She's also fond of Matt also, and we both respect his incredible talent. When I discovered that he'd sent her samples to try, I said, give them to me and I'll do a show. So Matt, if you're out there, I hope even if you just get one customer out of this, it's been worth my time. So, just to tell you a bit more about Advinture, it is a consumer direct sales arm of a trade company. I won't mention it because I think that he wants to keep people in mind of Advinture. But everyone out there who knows Matt Wilkin and Christian Honorez knows who I'm talking about. And he's talking about special discounts to the trade for you out there if you like his wines. And he's got the most amazing wine list. I think there's like 15% discount for trade. Coming up to Christmas, just because he has to move stock, he has to keep his clients happy, he has to keep all the suppliers happy. So just to move the wine and to wipe his face means that he's allowed stock next year. Because if he buys stock and doesn't buy any more next year, those incredibly rare allocations will go elsewhere. This is the business that we live in. And before the viral collapse, it was made all the sense in the world for you to be restaurant specific, not supermarket specific, because if a supermarket buys your wine and they decide they don't want to buy it the following year, you go from hero to zero very fast. With restaurants, all the restaurants have to delist you at the same time for you to have a bad year, but it takes a long time to build those businesses up, to build up those reputations, and it also takes a long time to get these tiny allocations of lots of incredible wine. So he's making massive discounts on his wines. He's got a special sale on of wines at £10. He's got wines that which are going to be promoted or sold at up to 50% off their retail price. So please have a look. All the details are below. If you're watching this on TV, go to your computer, please. Go YouTube and then Drinks Coach UK, and then you press the arrow, and then all the information on these wines, prices, and how you can access Matt's and Christian's amazing wine list will be there. Any questions? Lowercase, all Vinesack, Drinks Coach UK. You're watching the Drinks Coach on YouTube. Please click on the bell if you want notifications. Okay, so let's try these wines. I haven't tried these wines before. I'm doing this because I know that Matt doesn't sell strumps. Everything he does, even the wines I don't like, I go, oh, I can totally see why he did that. None of his wines are boring. None of them are orange. They're either green or red. Okay, so, start with some champagne. Thank you, Victoria, for this beautiful stopper. Oh, it didn't pop. That was a bit depressing. Okay, so this is Champagne Extra Brut from Dehors, Terre de Meunier. Now, Meunier, used to be called Pinot Meunier, is the third variety that we know as one of the blendable varieties of champagne that most people use. There are a couple of others, but we don't talk about them. So you've got Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Meunier. Why is it not called Pinot Meunier anymore? Because it's not related to Pinot Noir. It's not a Pinot, in fact. So called because Meunier, the leaves of the plant have hairs, tiny little sort of cilia on the leaf surface. So in the sunshine, it looks like somebody's dusted it with flour. And Meunier means miller, as in flour mill. So let's try this. This is apparently one of the greatest exponents. I've never come across this before. But this is an absolute, what we call extra brut or brut sauvage. Bone dry, completely dry. Drier Then Gandy's Flip Flop, okay? And 100% Meunier. Very rare. Wow. Well, what can I say? Incredibly reserved. Meunier is a variety that's taken very well to the UK sparkling wine scene, because I think that it works very well in regions that aren't quite as warm. It has a smell. It smells like fresh sourdough. If you go down to the St John restaurant in Thingy Market, just around in the East End of London, and just take a slice of their beautiful brown bread and put it in the toaster until it's slightly charred, that's what you smell. Pan poilan, sourdough bread, pan de campagne. It's nutty. Champagne and other styles of wine that are made that way, if they've been aged for long enough and that they're aged with the muck still left in the bottle from the fermentation that's happened inside it, if you leave it long enough, you get a thing called autolysis, which are characteristics in the wine, which come from the very fact that the muck in the bottom, the yeast, has kind of dissolved and absorbed into the wine, creating a very different texture to the liquid, but also adding flavours. And this sourdough character is very, very typical of a red grape variety led champagne. If this had Chardonnay in it, because Meunier and Pinot Noir are red, Chardonnay is white, you tend to get smoky. Smoky is a good word. Kind of like fresh, tingling autolysis. Sometimes, if you leave the wine long enough, it tastes like crunchy bars, like cinder toffee. I want all my wine to taste like cinder toffee, but unfortunately we can't have everything, right? So this is a wine made with Meunier, and this is pure Meunier autolysis, and it just smells like a buttery biscuit base. It's like digestive buttery underneath of a beautiful cheesecake. Quite delicious. I'm going on a bit. Let's try it. Holy moly. There's nothing wrong with that. I wish I could tell you how much it is, but I'll tell you later. It's made, and they give you loads more information than the big Grand Marques do, who don't tell you shit about their wines. It tells you they only made 8,400 bottles of this. It tells you that it's a blend of 2016 and 2015 vintage. 16, sensational. 15, very warm. Actually might apply very well to this particular wine. And then it was put in the cellar in February 2017. Then it was taken out of the cellar in November 2018 and then disgorged. You know exactly where and when this wine was. No smoke and mirrors. Very unchampenois. Well done, Monsieur Dehors. Utterly delicious champagne. All right, I'm going to guess. I'm going to say that champagne's worth about £40-45. Look below and see how much it's actually worth on deal. I think it's on sale, but we shall see. I can't believe there's no sugar in there. It's completely balanced. So ripe. What can I taste? Hint of banana. Yeah, banana, mango skin. Oh, it's quite something. Looks very sexy as well. Moving on. Okay, so this doesn't come from Matt Wilkin. I think we'll lose this one. Okay, cheers. This is Fortnum Mason's Pinot Noir, made by the highly regarded Mac Forbes. I think I'll just put that down there. Okay. Don't think that's him. Okay, so next up, La Sagesse, Gramenon. Gramenon is one of the great kind of put them on an altar natural winemakers of the Rhone Valley. They make Rhone, basically. And this wine is Domaine Gramenon, Rhone, La Sagesse. They tend to be incredibly ripe. Even though they're 14.5% alcohol like this, tend to almost have a sweetness to them. Enormous texture because they're made naturally and they're made with yeasts that hundreds of thousands of different types of yeast. You get lots of different layerings in the wine, so it tastes pillowy, soft, and juicy. But it's not unknown for Gramenon wine to smell like a horse's arse. Amazing colour. Coteau, what's it made from? Well, it has to be made from a large majority. I think it's 70% Grenache. Love Grenache, but it's very dark. So I'm guessing there must be some Syrah or some Mourvedre in there, making it more colourful. I think we avoided the arse and just got a bit of sweaty mane, sort of glossy saddle, sweaty saddle. The wine actually smells fabulous, but it does smell like I'm standing in a barn full of hay. What's wrong with that? I mean, Rioja smells like that. There's a thing in these wild yeasts. There is a yeast called Brettanomyces, which can produce some quite interesting aromas, and also it makes the wine taste a bit rubbery in the palate. And it's just the natural mix in the sky. It's what's up there. But also remember, this is in Côtes du Rhône, which is a hot place full of oily plants, mesophytes, that's plants of a moderate Mediterranean climate, and xerophytes of desert plants, which in the heat irradiate oil, sage, rosemary, blah, 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 blah. And then what you end up with is a wine that smells of sage and rosemary. And we call this background aroma garrigue, which means wild plants, basically. Let's try it. See, I don't like Brut very much. I don't like those really funky wines very much. But I bloody love that. That's really lovely. It's plush. It's almost like you can't feel the liquid in your mouth. It's almost like it's hovering in midair. It's like warm rain. It's got a lovely spice to it, a delicious spice. I'd be amazed if there isn't any Mourvedre in there, because the Mourvedre has a taste of pencil shavings, cedar, cinnamon sticks, chocolate. They're all in there. If this is 100% Grenache, I'm not sure if that's allowed, then wow. 2018 Gramenon, La Sagesse. Guessing the price? Okay. 20? 21? Worth every penny. Look below, see how much it actually costs. This is fun, because when I look them up, I'll be going, no, really? You can get that for that? Wow. I'm going to place an order. So there we go. Sagesse. Next one. Chief pimp of the Nahe in Germany. This guy walks around with a big tall hat, a feather boa and a walking cane and flies G6s. No, he doesn't. Just eat. This is Dönnhoff. Dönnhoff, by most people's reckonings, must be in the top 10 of every single German Riesling enthusiast in the world. There are lots of wine regions in Germany. I had a wonderful talk given to me this morning by Jan Konecki, one of the greatest sommeliers in the world, about wines of Germany. And we had a Dönnhoff wine this morning. In fact, the first wine I had this morning. First bit of alcohol at 10 o'clock this morning. It's getting quite late now. It's been a long, busy day. So we have a wine from Dönnhoff. You've got France. You've got the Mosel, which comes in like this. Then you have the Nahe, which is where this is. And you've also got the Rheingau. You've got the Rheinhessen. And you've got the Pfalz. And then you've got Baden. Those are the big main regions of what used to be called West Germany. There are a couple of regions on the other side of Germany now, which are considered as special viticultural regions of importance, particularly Sachsen. So Rheingau, there's two kinds of German Riesling. You've got Rheingau, which are muscly. It's where there's a estate called Schloss Johannisberg, where Riesling got its name. The Johannisberger Riesling is the grape variety that was found there back in the, I think, 17th century. The soil's full of quartz and it's iron rich and makes these wines which have amazing, tingly, toothsome, almost astringent characters underneath this layer of incredibly dense fruit, concentrated fruit. And then you have this perfume over the top, and these wines can age for decade upon decade upon decade. That's maybe your flavour of Riesling. If you like the other flavour, that comes from the Mosel, or the area we now call the Mosel-Saar-Ruwer, which are all tributaries of the same river. And the Mosel, certainly the Mittelmosel, has some of the finest wines on earth. And the soil is not iron-rich and quartzite. It's slate and schist, and it's super steep. Some of the vineyards are 70% like that. You literally have to abseil down. Ludicrous. Now, there's a kind of halfway house, both climatically, because Rheingau's a little warmer than Mosel, but also soil-wise, because it's full of limestone. Nahe. And Nahe has some absolute killer producers. Kerpen, that's Mosel. Oh, yeah. Emmerich Schönleber, very good producer. Dönnhoff. I'm not going to embarrass myself for trying to remember any others, but on a normal day I could rattle them off. This is a wine that's made in Germany. 2018 was a miracle vintage, incredibly warm, perfect. If you can get your hands on 2018 German Rieslings and you like this kind of thing, you won't you won't get better wines made than in this vintage. It says on the back, VDP, which is wines of prédicat, wines of quality, which is a group of wineries which are very, very difficult to get involved in. And it says Grosse Lager, Grand Cru. This is made in the Oberhauser Leistenberg, which is one of the finest pieces of turf in the whole of Germany for making wine, thereby making it both the most expensive and one of the most finest pieces of turf for making wine on earth. It's a Kabinett. Kabinett is a word which gives you an indication of how sweet the wine is. And this wine is not sweet. It's not off dry. It's somewhere in between the two. It's what I call isotonic. When you drink Kabinett wines, and they're perfect, they usually have about 45 grams of sugar, and they have all that acidity that Riesling gives you, and all that minerality that the soil gives you, you end up with a wine which almost passes through your face, straight into your brain. You don't even feel it. It's the most extraordinarily refreshing and delicious drink. And for me, the greatest wines in Germany are often the Kabinetts. First of all, they're almost the least expensive, but because they're the only people on earth that make a wine like this. This style of wine is not made anywhere else. If it was any riper, it would be called a Spätlese, because it was picked late pick, or an Auslese, where they pick out, which means they berry select. They select parts of bunches, even not even whole bunches, and go through the vineyards. Or you've got Beer and Auslese, which means literally picking it berry by berry. Or Trockenbeer and Auslese, where you're only picking out botrytized, nobly rotted, little funky green little grapes, and you have to go through the vineyard up to 20 times. Relax. Okay, so I love this guy so much. Oh my God, Matt, I'm dying to know how much this is. This morning I had a Spätlese from this producer from a next door vineyard, maybe a slightly more prestigious vineyard. There aren't many, and it was $49.99 a bottle. This is a Kabinett, so I imagine it's not going to be as expensive. It's going to come from the importers, Edwin Barrett Siegel, I think it is. But I'm dying to know what deal Matt has struck, because if this wine is anything less than £25, it's a bargain. Look below. It's like jumping into a cold glacial pool on a boiling hot day. It just makes you shiver when you smell it. What a wine. What a wine. Oberhauser, Leistenberg, Riesling, Kabinett. All right, I'll explain it. Dönnhoff's the name. Oberhauser is the region. Leistenberg is the vineyard. Riesling is the grape variety. Kabinett's level of sweetness, 2018, is the vintage. It might look like a load of gobbledygook, but no one gives more information on their bottles than the Germans. Vorsprung durch Technik. Shout out to you, Jan, this morning. That talk was fantastic. Finally, it is Christmas after all, so you need something a little bit sweet. And the weather outside is frightful. Bablut, Cote de l'Aubance. This is a very, very unknown region. I think there's about 20 producers in this area. If you can see that, it says Sélection 2010, 2010. 10-year-old white wine. What can we expect? Well, this region is in the middle of the Loire. Well, we'll say the middle of the Loire. The Loire goes that way, but along the sort of like the bit that goes out to the Atlantic Ocean. It's made from Chenin Blanc. Chenin Blanc is one of the great underrated grape varieties on earth. South Africa, if you've watched my channel, you'll know I love a Chenin Blanc, no matter where it's from. Look at the World Chenin Blanc Day South African shows. You'll find value like you've never felt before. I think it, on recent showing, certainly at different price points in different countries, it gives Chardonnay a run for its money as the world's greatest grape variety, and indeed Riesling, which I've just talked about. Look at the colour. Amber. It's like tiger's eye, I think is the colour I'd call that. Wine's spicy on the nose. Why? Well, the reason why this colour is it's been made from, as I just mentioned, nobly rotten grapes. They allow the grapes to rot. They allow moulds to grow on the grape. Then it makes the mould makes holes in the skin. The sun comes out. The water evaporates. Next morning there's fog because you're by a river. Allows the mould to recover and grow again. So you get mould, evaporation, and the grape starts off like that and goes turns into a little raisin with a beard on it. Looks horrible. Tastes amazing. Okay, so this is made from taste amazing grapes. Don't look at them. Nobly rotted grapes. I want to know how much that is. these wines are not cheap. It's a whole bottle. It's a bottlized wine. Remember, the grapes are that big, and they're that big. So where you're probably making 3 or 4 bottles of wine per vine, now you're making half a bottle of wine per vine because you've lost all that volume in order to concentrate the grapes. I'm hoping that's under £20, but there's just no chance. I imagine that's about £25, £26. Look below. Look at the actual price. The big reveal. Matt, Christian, good luck this Christmas. May people watching this channel do you a service and taste beautiful wine and save a life. I don't suppose it's that bad, but I'm just saying you deserve better customers. See you for episode 81 next time.